Okay, here's my take on Endgame. Four of us went to see it last night. Um, Kind of a mixed bag for me. Better than I thought it was going to be. It's kind of down the middle for me as far as what the critics say and what fans say. Most of the critics are, when I say most, probably 75% of them are giving it rave reviews. Probably more in the 80 to 90% of the fans are giving it very good reviews. Me, I'm kind of in the middle as far as what I've seen. Um, the movie seems to be slow paced for the first hour or so. Um, what they do is they kind of take you from a very serious, almost sad scene to what Marvel's notorious for is mixing in comedy to get a laugh. Uh, I don't think they necessarily should have went so much on the comedy side in this movie, to try and get a laugh or a rise out of the crowd. I can give you three movies where that really didn't apply to. And it was all three of the Captain America movies. Because of Cap's personality, he's pretty serious. So, some one liners here and there, but mainly pretty serious. And I think that's how this movie should have been. I don't think it would have affected the fans going to see it because I always said this: they could have ran one commercial over the past few months and virtually no information on the film, and you would have still had the outcome as far as the money it's going to make at the box office, which you're talking for this weekend over $1 billion. It's pretty amazing, that kind of money. Seeing some films in their lifespan in a movie theater don't even achieve $1 billion or just barely. Uh, but some movies aren't designed to make a ton of movies. Some movies are designed to tell a great story, and the box office, the money is secondary to the film producers and the directors. Uh, Marvel seems to be more of a money grab company. They're going to do whatever they can to please and service their fans. And so for them, all the Avenger movies had a lot of zingers in there, one-liners, you know, trying to influence comedy. But I think in this movie, to me, it was going back and forth so much, it kind of left you a little, I wouldn't say befuddled, a little confused because of what happened with Thanos' snap, which was basically not just on Earth, the entire universe, where he wiped out half of all existence. Uh, Probably I'll throw a few spoilers in here because I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen the movie more than one time, because some people behind me were saying lines that either they seen on YouTube or they've already been seen the movie. Um, there's a few things I didn't like about the movie. One, the Hulk virtually did nothing in this movie. He was more of the brains of the operation at first, because Tony, once he got back from space, him and Cap got into it, and he pretty much went and retired, married Pepper, and they had a daughter. sorry for the spoilers, warned you before I even said it. Um, so he really doesn't want to get involved because before this, Scott Lang gets released from the quantum realm, which he's been stuck in there. For him, it felt like 5 hours, but it was actually 5 years. Now, here's here's another problem I have: the rat running over the controls to set him free. Just complete eye roll to me. I'm not going to get into that because I think it's basically stupid. A complex machine like that, I think, would take a series of commands to get it to work. A rat just walking across it. I mean, listen, I'm not going to rant on that because to me it's just beyond stupid. Um, Another thing is what they did with Thor's character. I finally thought they had Thor in a place where he was more important. Now, here we're talking the god of thunder, but he always seemed to be kind of third, fourth fiddle to the rest of the team. When he came down with Stormbreaker in Infinity War, that was the best part of the movie. So, what did they do to him in the 5 years? The team's kind of split up. He becomes a big, fat, beer guzzling slob. Big belly, beard hanging down to his chest. He he they just disrespected the character and the arc of Thor. I mean, he had that muscular body, that look to him. He had that look of the god of thunder. I think the two characters, the Hulk, the new makeover, I didn't really care for, and two, that I don't think he threw a single punch in the movie. Uh, Thor was in the battle, he was in the action, but he wasn't the same guy as he was before. Um, the battle scene, which the movie, like I said, was kind of slow paced, back and forth with the comedy. Um, Before we get to the battle scene, Tony decides to come in and help them, and he figures out how they can uh, time jump. And there's kind of a disagreement on what happens if you alter time or if you mess with time. Um, there's a difference of opinion. Even if you go back to the Doctor Strange movie, you remember the guy that was working with Doctor Strange, the black guy told him, if you alter or mess with time, he said the bill's going to come due. In other words, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass sooner or later. Uh, Dr. Banner doesn't seem to think so. He gives you a complete different theory. You know, doesn't matter what you do in the past. It's, when you come back in the present, that's how it's going to be. Well, I don't buy that. Imagine if, we'll just give you a scenario. And I know this is probably getting a little deep right here. Say if somebody went back in the 60s and convinced John F. Kennedy to get into a nuclear war with Russia when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. That would have altered the whole world. So basically, we're in the same situation with what happened in Infinity War. Now, if it had altered the whole world, say somebody was able to time travel, convince him to start a war, and then jump back in time before it happened to a safe spot, and he's never affected by that. He just wanted to cause chaos between the two countries. So that would definitely affect all of us right now if that had was able to happen. Let's just say in theory it was. The only one that would be really able to explain time travel would be Einstein, and unfortunately, he's been dead forever. So there's kind of a difference of opinion. So Banner meets up with the Ancient One, and she basically tells him, you may straighten out the timeline where you're at, but it could alter the timeline where I'm at. Now, this is years, several years before she meets Doctor Strange. When I say several years, probably 3, 4, 5 years before she meets him. But she knows where he's at. She knows his destiny. So she's basically telling him, you could screw time up. So there's this kind of, going back and forth. So Tony shows up. He's got the formula. Now they build this complex machine. Scott Lang's van, but with the strength to send multiple people through the quantum realm. And they do this in a few days. Not possible. You know, the problem with Marvel movies is they have so many plot holes, a lot of the movies, but the Russos are excellent at diverting your attention from the plot holes with either comedy or something else dramatic, explosions, whatever, to take your mind off it. When you stop and think about it later, when you rewatch it a couple times, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. So they build the machine, they find out it works, and they're able to get the stones. Banner tries it with the snap, but now, in the meantime, um, Thanos has found out the plan because I guess Nebula, future and past, can still communicate with each other. He tells her the plan. Now, here's the biggest plot hole to me is Thanos comes in, she lets him through with his ship. He annihilates Avengers HQ. I mean, just decimates it. Buildings, foundation, all the way down to the subfloors. Now, basically the whole team's in there, other than Black Widow. And I think most of you know what happened to Black Widow. But nobody should have survived that other than Thor, Tony, Hulk. The rest of them should have died. But not only did they survive, they walk out, they see Thanos sitting there, and they're like, what's he doing? Nothing. It's like it didn't even hurt them. When you see it, is just, it's like a nuclear bomb went off there, and nobody's hurt. I'm like, that's just beyond fucked up right there. That just makes no sense. Somebody should have at least died in there, but they didn't. Now, the battle scene was big. It was long. That's really where the action started. There's one thing I didn't like about the battle scene, and they're shooting it in IMAX, which is supposed to be the absolute best way to film. It kind of looked a little muddied and dark. It wasn't Marvel's known for their bright, vibrant colors, and their films look sharp, kind of like the way Nolan films. The scene looked like they were on a desolate planet when they were actually on Earth, right there at where they just destroyed the building. And what they did do clever was in Infinity War, where they broke them up into 3 teams or 3 missions, they kind of focus, instead of on 30, 40 people that were, could have been past Avengers, whatever. Instead of focusing on so many people, they focused on the main remaining Avengers and a few of the new Avengers that are going to take over and a couple other people. So they were able to get some decent screen time for each of them. Uh, of course, Tony tricks Thanos, grabs the stones out of the glove, he snaps his finger and kills the entire group of them. Like I said, this I warned you, spoilers, and then of course he dies because it's just too much for his body. So we go to the funeral. The only problem I had with the funeral scene was Tony giving his own basic kind of eulogy in a holographic form. Now remember, he has a 4 or 5 year old child. Here's where I think the Russos could have done a little bit better job and made it that to me was the most emotional part of the movie. Him dying and another cast member dying. I didn't shed any tears because I knew it was going to be either him or Cap. So you knew this going in. The other death was more of a surprise, but after the holograph is through, as he's walking over, he tells his daughter that he loves her 3 times, 3,000 times over. It's kind of like a battle. I love you more, and it's kind of like that. So, what do you think a child would be going through their mind? You might say I'm overthinking this. Okay, mommy, you told me he's dead. I could hear this conversation, but he was right there. Wouldn't it have been a better touch if you would have had him write a personal letter to Pepper, and where Pepper could read it, leave a letter to his daughter, and then a letter to the team, and one of the team members, like Steve, reading the letter to just the team? I think it would have added a more personal touch to it. So here is where I have the absolute biggest problem, because I believe, like I said, time travel works like this. If you go back in the past and you alter time and you alter it where people now no longer exist, how can you have not changed time? The Flash, a cheap TV show, showed us what happened when one person went back to save another person. He not only screwed time up on Earth, he screwed it up everywhere. And when he tried to correct it, he didn't. He couldn't correct it because he already altered time. So Cap has to take the stones back. He has to put them back at the exact moment, the exact time. Now he's supposed to be. They said, how long is he going to be gone? Well, they said he can take as long as he needs, but he'll be back in 5 seconds. Well, he never returns. He decides to stay in the 40s and hook up with Peggy. And then they're like, well, okay, where's he at? You need to get him back. Well, they look over and an old man sitting on the bench. It's Cap. He's probably 80 years old. And he told Sam and Bucky are standing there, and Sam walks over and he tells him that he decided to take Tony's advice and get himself a life. But to me, that's extremely selfish because Peggy had a family. She was married, had kids. They probably had kids. His niece was a SHIELD agent. So these people probably will never exist. So imagine him telling Peggy this a year or two after he comes back and they don't have any children. Peggy was all business, straightforward. I think she would have been pissed off because she would have looked at it like, you eliminated a family I had. Even as much as I love you, you altered my the present I'm in right now and my future. So it was kind of selfish because it wasn't the Captain America we watched. He was kind of self righteous. I got to do the right thing and everything. That's why I think Cap should have died because he had nobody really here in the present. Tony finally took the leap, had a family. He was different when he was around Pepper and his daughter than the Cap, than the Iron Man we're used to. Um, so I think he should have died. But here's the silliest thing: he hands the shield to Sam, and everybody's just 100%. This is where the Russos kind of gave you a little bit of a trick. They play a little bit of trick on you. You're thinking Bucky's going to become the new American Captain America because he's a super soldier. No, he gives the shield to Sam. Now tell me, what in the hell is Sam going to do with it unless Sam, they turn him into a super soldier? He has no powers. All he can do is fly with his Falcon suit. The reason Cap was able to take the brutal beatings he did because him and Bucky were alike. They were super soldiers. They could take this. Sam has no powers. So and what really angered me about the whole thing was you defended Bucky to the very end. You even held back telling Tony what happened, where you two were not even friends, weren't even speaking, and Tony was still mad at you when he got back to Earth. So you did all this and you turn the shield over to Sam. That almost makes me think you trust Sam more to be Captain America than you do Bucky. Uh, so it just didn't make any sense to me. Oh, and one other thing: Captain Marvel, I think, would have been more effective if they had introduced her 4 or 5 movies ago. Then you would have got used to her. You'd have got over the kind of dislike of her, and she would have been more of part of the Avengers team. But it's funny how people were saying, "Oh, she ruined certain parts. She did this and that." When she destroys Thanos' ship, that was one of the loudest applauses in the theater. Well, wait a minute now. I thought everybody hated Captain Marvel. Why are they even clapping? I mean, why are they cheering because she did this? So that tells you the reason you're seeing so much hate is because of the clowns that report and the critics that report on movies and a lot of YouTubers that have their own channels that just are cramming this stuff down your throat. Like I said, when they applauded, I'm like, that's weird. I thought they hated Captain Marvel. So it's just like I said, it was a mixed bag for me. Was it a bad movie? No. Was it the greatest movie of all time, the greatest comic book movie? No, not even close. Um, I, Two of my friends that went with me, diehard Marvel fans, I asked them point blank, is this the best Marvel movie you've ever seen? And I really never got a response from them. They kind of danced around the question and really didn't say anything. So I'm thinking a lot of people are just jumping right after they see the movie right to it. Oh, this is the best Marvel movie ever. They kind of pause there and we're like, and then I told them, okay, I'm more of a DC fan because I grew up with Batman and Superman, but that doesn't mean I don't like Marvel. I probably got more Marvel movies than I do DC movies. Um, the the thing is that if you believe this is the greatest movie, you wouldn't hesitate to say it was. So I told him, I said, here's my favorite Marvel movies. Two of them are from the MCU, and one's not. I think Iron Man and Winter Soldier are the two best in the MC universe. But I think you could easily put Logan in the top three. So I said, those are my three favorites. I said, then would come Avengers. And I could put this movie at five, maybe, or maybe not even that. Because I think Infinity War had more action. Um, I think they could have done both movies in Infinity War. First part, Thanos wipes everybody out. Second part, they finish it. But if people aren't crazy enough to see this, Marvel is worried about one thing. This is a cash grab right here. They knew this movie was going to do, and I predict it will go past Avatar. I think it might be the first $3 billion movie. It's going to do 1.1, 1.2, they said, by this weekend, when Monday's numbers come around. So it wouldn't surprise me if it did 3 billion and passed Avatar. So, you know, like I said, mixed bag for me. Sorry for the spoilers, but I warned you. I was going to give you spoilers. Could have shut that off, but I think a lot of people have already seen it. I think a lot of people watch the YouTube trailers, so I don't think I'm spoiling too many people's, uh, that haven't seen the movie yet. Uh, like I said, was it the best comic book movie ever? No, it's not even the best Marvel movie. That title will always belong to Iron Man because he started it, and at the end when he snapped his fingers and told Thanos right before he snapped his fingers, "I am Iron Man." That's what makes him the best Avenger of all. And I think Cap and his self righteousness and his, I got to do everything perfect, and I'm the leader of the group and all this, and then you stay back there, you steal another guy's wife, you wipe that family out of existence by staying there. Sorry, I lost a little bit of respect for you. Well, that's my review of the movie. Uh, I see it probably different than you guys. I'm not here to argue with that and telling you not to go to see it. It's just what I thought of the movie. Have a good one.